Tropical Analysis Video Portfolio in International Economics. I am April Rose M. Gomez, a fourth-year economics student of Bukidnon State University. Part 1 Introduction. As we all know that in our lesson in international trade, it involves the exchange of goods and services and other factors of production. That is the reason why I choose this graph to represent this whole chapter because at what we can see, it involves the trading activity of our country from 2018 to 2020. Part 2 International Trade. In this part, the things that I have learned is that there are different types of theories to explain international trade, namely mercantilism trade theory, absolute advantage theory, comparative advantage theory, factor endowment theory, Leon-Theft paradox theory, product life cycle theory, new trend theory, and lastly, Porter's diamond theory. I also learned that the situation in which the trade is advantageous is when two countries produce different goods for different costs. It will assess countries earn surplus or profit for the product they produce when two nations collaborate to produce various goods at different prices. Both nations will benefit from circumstances since they can make money by trading or selling various goods due to the fact that there is no alternative for that specific commodity. It also lessens rivalry between nations while increasing the demand. Part 3 Absolute Comparative Advantage. The PPF block derives from the numbers in the table C. Care are depicted in figure 1. It depicts the PPF in the absence of trade or autarky since the Ricardian model assumes constant opportunity cost. The PPF is straight line. The absolute value of the slope equals to the opportunity cost, or so the so-called marginal rate of transformation of commodity B in terms of commodity E. Both countries are assumed to have labor capacity of 50 hours. Demand determines the composition of production of both goods in closed economy. The output cannot be outside the PPF because such a point is not possible with the available resources and technology. It will not be found within the PPF because neoclassical theory assumes full utilization of all resources. In the Ricardian model, demand is determined by so-called referred to as social and community interdifference curves. These curves are convex in the direction of origin and are composed of points at which consumer needs are equally satisfied. I learned that there are three main types of trade barriers include subsidies and countervailing duty law and anti-dumping duties and voluntary export restraint. A countervailing duty is defined as a tax that imposed on goods as the subsidy in the country of import or export. An exporting company is said to be dumping when it sells its product to an importer in the Philippines at a price below its normal value and this causing material injury to a domestic industry producing similar product. An exporting country's ability to export a certain amount of goods to other countries is restricted by a voluntary export restraint or BER. The export nation is composed of this cap and its own. According to what I have learned in this lesson, the most efficient and effective thing we can do to boost our economy is to further research the benefits and drawbacks of international trade for our nation. I order to implement or revise a policy that will enable our international trade sector to expand and be competitive on a global scale with other developing nations. When a local state or federal government spend money to construct, to renovate the physical facilities and building requires for business and society as a whole to flourish, this is referred to as infrastructure spending. Infrastructure consists of things like ports, sewer networks, and bridges. Part 5 Open Economy Macroeconomics. In comparison to high-growth East Asian economies, Philippine economic growth has been modest. These latter countries have achieved annual growth rate of real output and income growth rates of real output and income growth rate ranging from 7% to 10% per annum of real output and income growth during their sustained growth period in recent decades. The Philippines is literally surrounded by this country. Japan, the earliest achievers from the 1950s to the 1970s, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia in the north, and South Korea. Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia in the south. Part 6. Balance of Payment. A country's balance of payment is a systematic record of all economic transactions between residents of the reporting country and residents of foreign countries during a given period of time, writes by Kendall Berger. Balance of payment characteristic. It is a systematic record of all economic transactions that takes place between one country and the rest of the world. It includes all transactions, both visible and invisible. It refers to a time period. In most cases, it is an annual report. I have learned that BOP statement is being composed of various components, namely the current account, capital account, reserve account, and lastly the error account. On BOP current account, it is a statement of actual receipt and payment in short period of time. The capital account records all international transactions that involves a resident of a country concerned changing either his asset with or his liabilities to a resident of another country. The transaction in the capital account reflect a change in stock, either asset or three accounts, IMF, SDF, and reserve and monetary gold are collectively called as the reserve account. Errors and omission. The entries under this head relate mainly to leads and lags in reporting of transaction. It is of a balancing entry and is needed to offset the overstated or understated components. Part 7. Import and Export. In this lesson, I have learned that the foreign trade is conducted through import and export. Foreign trade in goods and services is presented separately for goods and services, and include imports and export. And the balance of foreign trade, the total import-export of balance of foreign trade are presented as goods and services summaries. Exporting refers to the sale of goods and services from one country to another. Importing, on the other hand, refers to the purchase of foreign products under importation into one's home country. Part 8. International Monetary System. The International Monetary System is a set of rules that governs the use of exchange of money all over the world and between countries. Each country has its own money in the form of currency, and the International Monetary System governs the rules for valuing and exchanging these currencies. I have learned that the current system of exchange is a managed floating exchange rate determines today's international exchange rate. I choose this image to represent this whole chapter for the reason of it composed and Bretton Woods, US dollar at center, and by just looking at this image, we can already say the connection of this with each other. Thank you and God bless you all.